I guess with a new year of high school comes completely new characters because everyone changed in season 3. Judai's old friends suddenly become very good to him, from verbal comfort to unconditional sacrifice on his behalf. Judai, in turn, goes from solving problems to creating them. Personally, I find this gives a lot of depth to this character, as every good quality pushed to the extreme can become bad. To recap, I'd previously said that Judai gives a lot emotionally to his friends without asking for anything back. At this point, this never gave him issues until season 3, when he pushes himself physically and emotionally to his breaking point to save Johan, aka his first friend who was emotionally competent enough to actually give a shit and show it. His hero act turns into a downright savior complex. A savior complex can be defined as someone who believes in their superiority and noble morality to be able to solve everyone's problems. This often results in relationship issues and emotional burnout. It starts at his childhood, where because of how crazy protective Yubel was, he was traumatized by the coma that his friend was put into and the subsequent ostracism from that. Combining a very lonely boy and his fixation on heroes makes it easy to see why Judai becomes so eager to save everyone, if it meant it could give him friends. He trades dealing with his own problems for dealing with others, believing that would fulfill him. His savior complex really jumps out in combination with how reckless he is, a quality that everyone this season roasts him about. This recklessness manifests when he decides on behalf of his friends that he won't let any of them duel because they can die from it. But so can he, Q overexerting himself. But thanks to his savior complex, he sees little issue with this and still piles responsibility for the lives of everyone around him onto himself like the masochist he is, going as far as single-handedly raiding a military camp and claiming Yubel's evil deeds are his fault. And he definitely thinks he is the only one who has to save them all, alone. Because he is superior. He's so entitled to the hero role that it actually confuses him when people solve their own problems, aka Johan being probably the most competent character in the whole show and takes so many matters into his own hands. His emotional resilience breaks when all his friends disappear and he's yanked out of his tunnel vision to see that his relationships with his friends are collapsing. The two responsible parent friends are finally fed up with him running around and leaving them behind and tell him to check himself before he wrecks himself, to which he chooses the latter. Now that his usual support system is gone, Judai becomes very self-absorbed when he is forced to face his own flaws, but doesn't understand how to fix himself. This leads to him hermiting and allowing his alternate personality to take over, while he withdraws in an attempt to understand why his usual headstrong nature failed him. Before this point though, I don't think he did any introspection, likely because he's afraid of what he would discover, such as his more sinister traits and negative emotions from unresolved trauma. Season 3 introduced a huge cast that was far more competent than Judai in his weaknesses like leadership and logical reasoning that serves as an excellent contrast to his character. He realizes for the first time that he has limits, and the depression that follows becomes a catalyst for the complete character change that happens in season 4. Everything in season 3 becomes important in dissecting whatever the heck is going on with Yubel, aka Jaden and Yubel in season 4, the emotional burnout phase of his savior complex. Yubel is practically a whole new character made up of Judai's savior complex and deep love for everyone, Yubel's cynicism and sass, and season 3 trauma, which gave him low self-esteem and paranoia. This honestly makes for a really unique character who is still friendly and loving, but then can also shut down emotionally to get whatever he wants, aka whatever happens during Fubuki's final arc. Yeah, and actually ends up threatening people. It doesn't help that he starts to despise being used by others, but can't help his own helpful nature. At this point, he's no longer trying to uphold his friendships or get close with anyone at all. He instead really likes fishing now, for some reason. And he's emotionally burned out to the point where it creates another crevice between him and his friends. Asuka calls him out on this, and it takes her really getting mad at him for him to finally figure out that he's been slamming shut his emotional perception of others the entire time. But in his defense, for some reason all his friends have reverted to their season 2 attitudes and are now going about their lives as if season 3 didn't happen. Why aren't they traumatized? I have season 3 trauma. Still not cool of Judai to alienate them though. He changes his tune to go back to loving his friends after making the realization and becomes ride and die for Manjome during his arc for some reason. He does several things that really mark his character change, including being mean enough to sit like flees onto a man who made Manjome's life miserable and acts like he's antagonizing Manjome to gain crowd favor towards Manjome. It's just so bizarre to see a boy whose meanest words previously was "shut up" to go full-on social manipulation and biological warfare. In conclusion, that whole thing was a very harsh way to force a joyful teen into adulthood, but I understand he wasn't going to change until he was forced to reflect. While I miss Sunshine Judai, I find Yubel to be much more relatable and interesting.